What's up, Dreamer Tribe? What's up, world? I am Bianca, and this is my channel. So, since it's Friday today, you guys know what that means. I've already put out a couple of videos like this, but today it's time for another 5 Things Friday. Now, today's 5 Things Friday is actually a massive nostalgia trip for me. It actually brought back so many of my childhood memories, and the reason for that is because today's 5 Things Friday are the 5 shows from my childhood. So yeah, this is pretty nostalgic for me, but let's not prolong this anymore. I'm really excited to share this list because even though it's been so long since I last saw these shows, they are shows that are actually really dear to my heart for various reasons. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So these shows are not in any particular order, and the first one I'm gonna share about the 5 shows from my childhood is the show that most people are familiar with. After all, it is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So it might sound kind of funny, and it is, as I look back, to think that I was so addicted to this show when I was a kid. Like, I would really do everything, every chore that was asked of me to do, and I would make sure that all of my homework are done just so I would be allowed to watch this show. Now, if I remember correctly, here in the Philippines, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was aired, I think, every Friday night, if I'm not mistaken, or Saturday morning. It's either of those two, but I think it really is around Fridays that they air that show, and I would watch it diligently. And this show is pretty memorable for me, considering that I think the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, the first one at least, not the reboot thing we recently got, that was more like a massive advertisement for Krispy Kreme. Unlike that, the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is actually the first movie I ever watched at a cinema. So yeah, this show is actually pretty nostalgic for my childhood. It's one of those shows that I don't think I will forget anytime soon. And I've actually tried watching them again, and I'm just laughing my ass off, thinking that as a kid I enjoyed um, what the fights, the story, the dialogue. But now I'm looking back to it, they were also pretty cheesy and pretty funny now. But when I was a kid, I actually, I was so serious at watching this show, and it's just so funny to think about. Now, if anyone were to ask, my favorite character in the show is Tommy. Like, I think a majority of people. So when I actually heard that there is a movie that features Tommy and the actor that plays Tommy, the title for the show just eludes me at the moment, or the movie just eludes me at this moment. I was so excited about it. I think I saw an image of it somewhere in the internet. I think it was shared on Twitter or something. But it was about a sort of alternate universe, or a what if scenario, where Tommy is or has turned evil, and the other Rangers weren't able to bring him back to the good side. So I'm I want to watch that, even though Tommy is has gone pretty dark in that film. So yeah, the fifth or the first one on the list is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Alright, so let's get to the second show from my childhood on this list. Now this show isn't really that old. Like it has recently renewed its run. I haven't actually watched that yet. I'm trying to find the time to watch it, but right now I'm too into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and, you know, taking my time watching all the movies from the first MCU movie down to the Ant-Man and the Wasp in preparation for next year's Captain Marvel and Avengers 4. But anyway, the show I have picked as one of the 5 shows from my childhood is my all-time favorite, Cardcaptor Sakura. So the thing about Cardcaptor Sakura is that it uses the tried and tested formula of magical girls, which is pretty popular in Japan and all around the world. And it is my belief that Cardcaptor Sakura is one of the most famous from that genre. Here in the Philippines, that show was aired at the same time that Digimon was, and I think I was around, grade 5 or 6 at that time, and I was pretty much entertained with the show. I love that show so much. I actually bought the DVD copy for it and bought the quote cards and everything. I loved every single character in that show. Even Sakura's annoying brother Toya proved to be someone who she could actually depend on. Now, as far as magical girls go, I know that the flavor of those particular shows in this day and age has gone dark. I've heard about that Madoka series. I haven't actually watched that. And then we finally have the Sailor Moon Crystal anime that actually follows the manga religiously to the point that it's actually pretty dark, that as similar to its manga counterpart. But for Cardcaptor Sakura, at least for the first series that was released in 1996, I think 1998, around that time, it is a pretty lighthearted series, and it was aired every day, every afternoon, I think. And I remember I would always try to rush at home just so I could watch every episode of it. However, since I live in the Philippines, they had to dub that show into Tagalog, and boy, when I finally watched the actual Cardcaptor Sakura anime with the traditional Japanese language, the difference in dialogue was so obvious that I completely tried to forget that there was a dubbed version to begin with. Now, compared to that, the English dub of the anime, which was aired on Animax, at least in Asia, that was pretty good, and I think they returned it into Animax lineup, I think a couple of years ago, and I remember watching that again because it's impossible not to watch this show. I just love it so much. So yeah, the second show on this list is Cardcaptor Sakura. Now, the next show on this list is a little bit different than the other two, and that's because this is more of a variety show that I enjoyed watching as a kid, and this show is called All That, and it's from Nickelodeon. Now, All That is similar to, I think, a more innocent version of Saturday Night Live, and that's only because that's the only thing I can compare it to at the moment. It's actually pretty funny. It has a variety of skits, and it featured a couple of well-known names when they of actors when they were younger, like Keenan and Kel, like Amanda Bynes, like Britney's younger sister. They were in that show, and I and my sisters would watch that, and up until now I can still remember the theme song from that show, and also the different some at least of the different skits that they had. Like there was one with what is it, Randy Quench, volunteer fireman. Like my sisters and I would copy how that character would pronounce his name whenever he enters the scene, and it would always be of a scene where he tries to where he is a first responder and is tasked to do first responder stuff, to do rescue, but always ends up kind of doing a lot more damage than actually helping. And then there's also a segment called Know Your Stars, and in that segment, an overhead voice, a disembodied voice, would describe whoever among the hosts for that show, whoever is sitting on that lone chair with a spotlight shining down on them. That voice would describe that person so wrongly, and so like the opposite of who they are, and in each of those descriptions it would be like, know your stars, know your stars, know your stars, and then they would like roast whomever is sitting on that chair, and that was just so funny. And there are a couple more segments in that show. I think they also have sort of a game thing going on there, like a competition between two teams that each have different hosts in them. And watching those with my sisters was actually fun. Sadly, that show got canceled. They didn't replace it with anything new on Nickelodeon. Actually, I think Nickelodeon now is just like a SpongeBob SquarePants channel, which is kind of sad considering that before they have tons of amazing shows, and most of them are memorable. Even though I can't like add all of them to this list, since I have limited myself to only five of those shows, and all that is among the shows that I actually fondly remember watching as a child. So the next show on this list is actually another show from Nickelodeon. No, it's not the Avatar series, although that is something that I also loved to watch. But that is from a recent lineup from Nickelodeon, and it wasn't aired during my childhood. But this show, however, the one that got into my list, is sort of a game show for kids, and it's called Legends of the Hidden Temple. So Legends of the Hidden Temple is actually a pretty interesting game show for kids. It's a game show where a pair of kids would go inside a maze-like structure that is within the show's studio, and they are tasked to get to the center of that maze. I think they called it Temple of the Hidden Monkey or something like that. And their job is to get all these sort of parts of a medallion, get all of those parts and bring it to the center of the maze or the temple in order to win. Now the show gives away different kinds of stuff to whomever manages to do just that. But the thing is, as far as I can remember, there wasn't, or I'd never watched someone who actually won in that show, because not only does the game show have puzzles that these two children have to solve within a time limit, they are also being sort of hunted, actually not haunted, hunted by like um, other people who were dressed in native garb, and they had to make sure that the path that they would take wouldn't have any of those people who were guarding the temple. And most of the episodes of that show that I have watched, the kids failed to do that. Anyway, the reason why this show is on this list, apart from it actually being a cool show and sort of a an intense show, I remember feeling anxious for these children who were competing. Is that I remember one episode or several, I think, where the prize for whomever wins, or among those prizes that they would get, was a telescope. It's actually one of those telescopes that you can actually use to see constellations at night. And I remember thinking that I wanted to join that show just so I could have that telescope, because I am quite interested with astronomy, and I like watching the stars even until now, actually, even though there are fewer stars now that we can see because of the pollution that is in this city. But anyway, I loved this show as a kid because it was so interesting to watch, and I would always, or my sisters and I would always, when we were watching, we would always sort of mimic what the Stonehead thing, who was hosting the show, would say. And we would also all get so excited for these kids whenever they get close to the center of the temple and we think that they might win. Those were good times. And again, like all that, this show was cancelled, and I don't think there is a show like it on Nickelodeon now, again, because Nickelodeon has turned into some sort of SpongeBob SquarePants channel. But this is among the shows that I actually miss watching, even now that I'm no longer a kid. And finally, we have come to the final show on this list. Now, among all of the shows that I have shared here in this video, this one is perhaps the oldest of them all, and this is also my all-time favorite of all the lists, of all the shows on this list. And this show is Akazukin
So,
Cha-Cha.
Akazukin
Cha-Cha is similar to Cardcaptor Sakura in a way that it is a magical girl anime. This is actually the first magical girl anime that I have watched as a kid, and I've watched it on its Tagalog dub, and I've also watched it on its original Japanese voice, and also on an English dub. And again, I want to forget about the Tagalog dub, even though the jokes there are okay, but they sort of messed with the story in the way that it sort of lost some of the story that is in there because they wanted to sort of, I don't know, change the dialogue a bit, which is only something I realized when I rewatch the show later on. And Akazukin Cha-Cha tells of, it's actually, I think the title translates to Red Riding Hood Cha-Cha, and the reason for that is because the heroine of the story, Cha-Cha, wears a red hood, and she's actually the most gullible and innocent female lead in any show that I have watched growing up, and because of that, her actions sort of end up as a butt end to a joke, along with her best friend, who is a boy that can turn into a white wolf. And she also has another best friend who is a magician's apprentice, training to be a magician himself. a teacher who is sort of weird, and the female teacher of her other friend. And she goes to the school, I remember, with the weirdest cast of characters that I have ever watched as a kid. And the reason why I love it is because at first glance, you would think that it's just an, feel good anime. There's nothing really in it. The story is sort of just there to, I don't know, make a joke about the characters. But as the story, or as the episodes played on, as the anime dished out more and more episodes, you can actually see how intricate the story was, and how amazing at the end the story was, looking back on it. Like, there were so many twists to that anime that made it so memorable to me. I wanted to watch it again now as a grown up, but I couldn't find a copy of it, which is sad. um, and I remember, even though I'm dissing, I have dissed the Tagalog dub. I remember the song, a little bit, the song from that dub, and although they use the melody of the Japanese song in the opening, they changed the lyrics, some cheesy worded lyrics that mirror what the the characters would say for Cha-Cha to transform, because she couldn't transform normally like, magical girls do now. She actually has this amulet, and it, along with the two other accessories that her friends wear, when they sort of chant courage, hope, and love, Cha-Cha would transform into this grown up version of her. And that was actually pretty cool. And I remember, this is actually a fond memory of mine, because me and my friends, we love this show so much that we would actually role play the characters. And I remember when I was in grade 4, and I was in elementary school, we had a summer class, or sort of a summer review class for mathematics. And my teacher there, sort of placed the venue of that review class at his house. And we would go there during our summer break to get an edge or a head start from our other classmates when it came to mathematics. And I remember my teacher being so cool about it that, whenever 4 o'clock would hit, he would allow us to go downstairs to their living room in order to watch this show. Like, he would pause his review class just so we could watch it. And I remember me and my friends would, who were with the tutorial class or review class with me, we would sit on around his television screen eating, I think it was shaved ice, flavored shaved ice, and we would watch that show with our teacher. And that's just a fond memory of mine, that whenever I think about Akazukin Cha-Cha, that memory just comes back, and it fills me with so much happiness. And it makes me remember my friends who I haven't talked to in a while now. So, yeah, Akazukin Cha-Cha still remains as one of my favorite shows of all time, favorite anime of all time, even though there have been other shows that had come out since then. And thinking about that show now, and the stuff that my friends and I did, the memories with that came along watching that show, with that show, is just sort of really, really makes me happy. And I'm trying to hold back tears, because it's kind of weird to feel teary-eyed or be teary-eyed about while talking about this show. Anyways, there you guys have it. Our 5 things Friday list for this Friday, or this week, is now complete. And this really is such a trip down nostalgia lane for me. I'm kind of missing my friends now after talking about Akazuki and Cha-Cha. But yeah, what you guys remember most about your childhood? Like, what shows do you remember from your childhood? I'm curious. I want to know. So please do comment on the comment section below. Well, I suppose that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. So if you guys like this video, as always, leave a thumbs up if you can, and also share this video if you can. That would be truly helpful for me in growing this channel. And also to our new subscribers, our new members of the Dreamer Tribe, thank you all so much. You guys are awesome. To those who haven't subscribed yet but are watching my videos, please do subscribe. I actually have a YouTube goal, which is to get 450 subscribers before October ends. I have that goal for September. Unfortunately, I didn't hit it quite enough. I only got to 430, so I need 20 more subscribers for my current YouTube goal as I head towards 500 subs. But anyways, once again, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, your thoughts, constructive criticisms, they are welcome in the comment section below. Now, if you want to be part of our notification squad, just click on the bell icon right next to the subscribe button. And that's it for today. Thank you again for watching. Until the next video, you guys know the drill. Dream on, fly on.